So the 7 conditions for focalizing is number 1 is respect for yourself, respect for others, and respect for other existing realities. And when I say respect for other existing realities, what do I mean? I mean that, remember earlier I mentioned that I see the world that we live in, the structures of it, as primarily dysfunctional based on where we are in evolution. I'm not judging it, I'm just noticing it. You know what I mean? As a matter of fact, I'm even respecting it. It's just the way where evolution has delivered us at this moment in time. And by respecting it, it gives us an opportunity to step forward without having to drag all of it with us. That yes, this is reality. That yes, this room might not be the best well lit. Yes, we can, once we accept that, it's already done. To fight it is a total waste of time. It's already been done. So many of us spend so much psychic energy complaining or bitching about what's already happened. Whether it's a meeting we're in that we don't like or whether it's whatever, it's already happened. The best thing we can possibly do is say, oh, okay, so this is the existing reality. Okay, well, what do I want to do from here? But to complain about it, to fight with it, is useless. To accept it as something that's already happened, and then say, okay, where do I want to move from this place? Now, I now have a platform. It's already real. Where do I want to go next? So second one is just being real. As Joyce said, authentic. Just being real. Just saying what's real for you. Which in our culture is not easy. We have not been acculturated to say what's real. We've been acculturated to shape things the way we think the other person wants to hear them, or the way we think we'd like them to hear them. But often, neither one of them is really what we're feeling, or the complexity of what we might be feeling. 3 is community-based healing. And what that simply means is 2 or more people. Okay? One can do focalizing on their own, but it's something that they can do usually better after they've been doing it for a long time. For most people, until they really until they have really full embodiment, it really is best to do with community or another person. Shared intention. Like I have an intention that each of you leave the room tonight with something new, whatever that may be for you, or some new perception or some new experience, but most of all, that you leave being glad you came. Okay? Is that an intention that you could share with me? Good, so we have a shared intention. There's a lot of power to a shared intention. Next one is shared belief. Do you have like even a mustard seed of belief, even a tiny belief that intention can be realized? Good. Good. So we have the shared intention. We should have the shared belief. That aligns energies in a certain way. And when I set up rituals with people, focalizing rituals with people, I call this the lock. These are the 2 that lock the ritual out there in space. And then the intention is like the arrow shooting, the focused intention is the arrow shooting forward. Grounding through resource. That it's really important that we stay grounded for any of this. And when I say through resource, I mean through nature, through gravity, through pleasant memory, anything that feels calm, soothing, or connected. How's that? okay? But we want to ground it with that stuff, with the good stuff. And last, and to me, one of the most important, is no shame, no blame. That whatever comes up is what's coming up in this moment of evolution and reality for us in our own personal organic systems and in the collective experience. And there's no reason for any shame or blame. It's just what we're noticing happening. And for me, it's the same thing if we look back at our stories, although I shouldn't say I'm anti-story, because I'm not. But because stories sometimes come up in the process of resolution and opening our flow of energy and embodiment. But then they're just stories that come up. We're not grabbing onto them, holding on to them for dear life. And what that does, it creates a dynamic link. And by the way, there is a book that's about to come out to follow up on the Focalizing book outside called Focalizing Dynamic Links, which is once you have a sense of embodiment yourself, how do you bring it out in the world if you want to and connect with others in meaningful ways so that you form collective links of people's organizations, and there's a set of guidelines around that, which are really pretty simple and free, that I like a lot. So the structure of focalizing, I'm going to run through very quickly, okay? Just so you understand what's in it. Every focalizing session, it's good to begin with an intention. Okay, the intention might be to heal something. It might be somebody sometimes comes with a trauma or something. The intention could be the resolution or dissolution of a physiological barrier. What is a physiological barrier? The most common example that always comes to my mind is the guy, let's say, who can pretty much articulate himself great, does well in the world with people and everything, but when he has to go ask the boss for a raise, he can't. He puts it off for months and months, and when he finally does it, he doesn't do it because he's got an internal barrier for some reason that's stopping him. And that comes up a lot also with intimacy and sexuality issues, that we have these physiological barriers inside of us. So this is a really great way to dissolve those barriers so that we can move forward. The next one is suspension, and we've already explored this. And that's when I asked you to take a few seconds and to suspend voices of judgment, critical voices in our mind, personal and cultural criticisms or cynicisms, and fears, even fears, to just suspend them, just let them go while we do focalizing. Because they're really head noise, they're all head noise. They have nothing to do with the heart or the body. And by the way, since I talked about the brain and how it works before, in its linear black and white, either or wrong, the heart has the heart's intelligence, which is larger than the brain's scientifically, and all of this is scientifically rooted. Nothing I'm telling you does not have a scientific basis to it. But the heart's intelligence is much more complex. Like the brain doesn't know what love is. The brain doesn't know anything that has a textured experience to it. It just doesn't have that capacity. But the heart's not either or, it's either or and more. And it can hold it all at once. And it can give you a felt sense experience of it. But it does that through the body. So in a way, you could say when we tune into nature, we're also tuning into our heart's intelligence to speak to us through the felt sensations and imagery of the body. So sensing Many of you may have noticed, you mentioned the heat coming up, right? Other people, I'm sure, had different kinds of sensations. There are all kinds, and all kinds are cool. I mean, we want to make space for whatever sensations there are. Then there's imaging, and that's any visuals that happen to come to you. Okay, some may be meaningful, some may not be meaningful. Some people even have sort of hallucinogenic images, perfectly fine, or distorted body images, like they feel like their body's getting longer. All good, you just want to allow for it. The body has its own way of re-regulating itself that we don't understand, so we just want to kind of stand aside and let it do its thing. Resourcing, and that's bringing in or allowing in the calm or gentle natures or feelings or experiences, letting the sun in, so to speak, because that becomes the driving force for resolution and re-regulation of the whole central nervous system. Engaging opposite energies. Now, in some way, you all did this when you walked into the room, that you had your outside energy and then you walked into, and this happens on so many levels, obvious ones and not so obvious ones. But in focalizing, particularly when we start doing resolution work, there is always the bringing together of opposite energies. And actually, transformation has been described as the bringing together of polar opposite energies, thereby creating a third experience or a third energy, which is almost always more holistic, more natural. And then usually out of this bringing together of opposite energies within the system are shifts in perception and experience. So we may have started thinking about something a certain way or feeling about it a certain way, and all of a sudden when the energies come together and that all of a sudden there's a shift or this third possibility emerges, which is a new perception. But not only is it a new perception, it's a new physiological experience. So the body almost wakes up to another physiological experience that usually is better than previous ones. And then going down the road is what I call soulful integration. It's whatever those shifts of perception were and experience. The body's organic. It's not like the mind. It's not like things happen that quickly. It takes time for the body to integrate this new perception and this new experience, to integrate it into your being and even allow it to gradually metabolize into the fabric of your DNA, so that you are changed at the most fundamental levels of existence. And then physical manifestation is when the intention that you came into the focalizing with is manifested in the physical world. And often the manifestation, it may not be exactly what you intended, but usually it's something very close to it, often better. Often something totally inconceivable to you at the moment. Just like at one time it was totally inconceivable to me that I would be standing here doing this. A blue-collar kid from Long Island who knew his family knew nothing about education. How the hell did I end out here? But so the things that manifest in physical reality often are better than we could have wished for, because we didn't know enough to wish for it. So I'm going to ask you now to do another body drop. Let's call it by its name. So in this body drop, I'm going to ask you to just allow to surface one thing going on in your life right now, one, whatever it may be, that's interrupting your life flow, that's contractive in some way, or holding you back, or a nuisance, or whatever, however you want to call it. One of life's less pleasant experiences, or the inner condition of that less pleasant experience. Okay. So first, I'm going to do a little grounding presence, just a couple of minutes, and then I'll lead you through the rest. Okay. Just follow me. It's easy. And so as you're ready, closing your eyes to avoid visual distractions. And as you're closing your eyes, maybe even just getting a sense of just dropping your body into the chair, just kind of letting the chair hold you up, letting the chair do what it was made to do. So there's no effort on your part. And perhaps going back down to the soles of your feet again, feeling a little contact with the floor and with gravity. And just noticing that you're being completely held up without any effort. Between both physical realities and invisible realities like gravity. Good. And then again, bringing the focus of your attention gradually up your body, lower legs, upper legs, buttocks, back. You might even want to notice you have a spinal column, just in any way that you notice that. And your neck, your head. Great. And then gradually down to your shoulders, just kind of saying hello, shoulders, noticing them. Your upper arms, your lower arms, hands, fingers. Good. Maybe noticing the breath for a minute, just noticing the natural in and out of the breath. And now to the suspension stage, just allowing, take a couple of seconds to allow any of those head noises, any of the voices of judgment, cynicism, fears to float away. Making you able to be more present in this very moment to your body and whatever it presents to you, subtly or not so subtly, in terms of imagery, or felt awarenesses, or felt sensations, and just noticing and allowing, just giving you space. And this is good. Now I'm going to ask you to take 3 breaths, in through the nose and out through the mouth. 3 breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And after the 3rd one, I'm going to suggest imagery. Okay, so I'm going to start you again now, just so I have everyone in sync. So right now you can begin with the breaths, natural breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth 3 times, and then just follow me. They're totally non-logical. Good. So now I'm going to ask you to image in front of you an image of yourself experiencing that difficulty that I just suggested you come up with, that life challenge, that blockage that you might be experiencing, that physiological barrier, whatever it might be. To just picture yourself in a moment of experiencing it. And just allowing the image to develop of you in that moment of experiencing that kind of contractive experience. And just allowing for it, just allowing for the image, allowing it to develop the image in your mind's eye, and noticing any feelings or sensations that go along with it. Good. And now I'm going to ask you to take another breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And now I'm going to ask you to take that image that you just created and to move it halfway across the field of vision in your mind's eye, almost like a windshield wiper coming up and going halfway across a windshield. And in the empty area that you just created by moving it halfway over, in that empty space, allow your imagination to just produce something that might be the opposite experience. And just take whatever comes. Again, it doesn't have to make any sense. What would be the most opposite experience to the first image? And just let whatever surfaces, give it a little time and space to fill in. Noticing any feelings or sensations that may accompany that image. Right. And now I'm going to ask you to take one more breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Good. And now I'm going to ask you, as you hold these two images in front of you, almost like side by side, like a split screen television or something, as you're noticing them, that you feel like a gentle, cool breeze blow across your back. And as that happens, the energy from these two images begins to swirl into each other. That one energy swirls into the other. And so the two energies combine in their own way, of their own accord. And out of it comes yet a third image, all by itself. A third image presents itself. Just taking whatever comes. Again, it doesn't have to make any sense, so don't edit at all. Just take whatever comes, noticing if there are any feelings or sensations that go along with it. Good. And now I'm going to ask you to bring this to a landing for now and gently prepare to slowly open your eyes, reorient to the light. And is there anyone who would feel comfortable reporting their experience? Stuart first.
All right. Well, I had some dental surgery recently, and I was wondering today whether I had an infection because just not feeling so well, and just like I have a mild infection. So I called to mind a sort of felt sense image of the feeling of not feeling well. So that was the first image, and I had an image of myself. And it's interesting because as I saw that image of myself outside my own body, I actually felt myself being stronger, which was interesting. And then I put that over on the right, and then you asked us to call to mind the counter image. So I had myself looking like ultra buff, right? Strong, healthy, idealized version of myself, right? And that was good. And so then you asked us to mix the two images together. And I thought, okay, that's cool. And so just as you directed, the images swirled together. And I didn't know what was going to come. This was so fascinating. And what emerged was like a wand rising up. And it progressively went through the colors of the spectrum. Out of this, sort of puddle swirl of these things, and first I thought it was green. I thought, oh, how cool, green. And then the colors just kept coming on their own organically.
Yes.
Until it was done.
So overall, what was your experience with that third experience?
And what was the experience?
Yeah.
As I was witnessing that?
Yeah.
Well, it was, it was sort of surprise and curiosity and wonder and a sense of new possibility.
A sense of new possibility, yes. So I might suggest to someone like you, and you can do this if you want or not, but to put a handle on that image, maybe new possibilities or whatever, something to help you remember it if you want. And for the next week or so, 3 times a day, do like a 20-second meditation where you go, new possibilities in your head. You do it while you're brushing your teeth. New possibilities. And then have the image surface and then take a deep breath. Or take a deep breath while some people do it differently. But the whole idea of the deep breath is to allow just a little bit of the visceral to come back, a little bit of what that felt like. Okay? And that can be very, very powerful in terms of helping just regulate the nervous system for just a second, reminding it of a better place to go, and to keep that moving in a way you'd like it to. Anyone else? Anyone more? Okay, so we're running out of time anyway. The tangible results, and there are many more, but these are the most obvious tangible results that I've picked up from people over the years. One is they report feeling more present in their life from moment to moment, as gradually. That sometimes they have like these long spanses of like total presence, and it's really cool. Sometimes it's a very gradual build-up. We're all different. But generally they will notice more presence and more just really being clearer with the presence. Resilience. They'll notice that they have a refined or enhanced ability to handle whatever comes their way, and to be able to move with or do what they have to do. And even if they get knocked off track by something, they will have the ability to come back faster to embodiment and presence. Connecting the dots, that often people will report to me after doing this, that certain things they had never thought of before that have always been there, but all of a sudden they can see how this dot can connect with this dot, creating a whole new different possibility than they had previously perceived. Desires changing. Now for me, and these are usually pretty simple things. For some people it's a big thing like stopping an addiction, for some, I guess mine could be called that. One of mine was, I used to love chocolate cake, like love it, And now I have no taste for chocolate cake at all, no desire. It's not of interest to me, but it's just an interesting observation that as we go through these inner shifts, that some of our desires change, but almost every time, if we look at it, it changed for the healthier, all by itself, without any effort put forth on our part. And unification. Unification is that the more you focalize, the more you realize you're part of the sea of humanity. The more you see yourself and everyone else, the more empathy, the more connected you feel to the ground, to the earth, to the universe, to each other. Next is, okay, so let's be clear here. What blocks source energy? And I've narrowed it down, and we've narrowed it down in our research to three basic things that are main culprits that get in the way of free flow of source energy. Big one, conditioned thinking. Is thinking that is not in our best interest and is destructive and holds us back in many, many different ways. And focalizing is a really wonderful way to get more management over destructive conditioned thinking. The unresolved traumas from the past that have locked our bodies and our physiology in a certain way that cause us to either stay away from certain things because we don't want that button pushed, or continuously get in the same situations over and over again that will cause the same kind of traumatic response until the trauma is resolved. And then the gift of that, Peter Levine, who created somatic experiencing, which we also draw a lot on here, says a trauma resolved is a gift from the gods. That when we resolve the trauma, we get a whole bunch more source energy coming through us because it was locked or twisted because of the trauma that was unable to complete itself in a natural response. And the other one that I've noticed over and over and over again is sexual barriers. However personal, different they may be for each individual person, that the embodiment of our erotic selves as human beings, as animals, as part of nature, the learning about that and learning to work with it and to set up a whole new construct for Eros away from our conditioning, separate from our conditioning. We can still do it with our conditioning if we want to, but this usually is much more alive, much more connective, much more spontaneous. Next. So working with source energy, once we get it going and get a feel for it, however little, however much, always involves resourcing, always involves some kind of inner good experience in a condition, trauma resolution and co-creation. When we resolve trauma, we have this energy that gets freed up that allows us to co-create naturally with others, with the universe. Illumination is that ideas wake up. But not only do ideas wake up, but they wake up with a certain energy that allows us to increase our effectiveness. So increased effectiveness is an interesting outcome of this. This is just a nice quote that I started the book with, but it really brings us to the heart of the matter. What lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. And of course, focalizing really is a whole process of getting comfortable and embodying what lies within us, making before and later not quite as important as the present experience. Any questions? Not at all? It's okay. Yes, Joyce.
What you were talking about in there, in your presentation, is some of that in the book, or is all of that in the book?
All of it's in the book.
All of it's in this book, yeah, okay.
Every bit. This has just been little pieces pulled out of the book.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, we have a last slide, I think. Okay, the book we told you about already. And they're outside for sale for $5 if you want them, which is the wholesale price. upcoming workshops initiated by our younger focalizers, younger because I feel like an old man, is Getting Unstuck will be May 5th, 6 o'clock, same place. Intimacy and Sex will be May 12th. Relationships, May 19th. That will be at a different location, right nearby. If you have been ignited by this at all, I would encourage, if you have the time, to do all three of them. Because the more we're in community like this, it's not so much the topics, although the topics are rich, they're very rich. But it's also the exposure to being with other people who've closed out the outside world for a little while so that they could begin to explore the inner. And there's something extraordinarily powerful to doing it in a group and the collective that really propels the experience. If you haven't already signed up for the three, I would encourage you. If you can't make all three, that's okay too. That community thing is really cool if a number of us can do it, to do the whole thing. Okay, thank you all. I appreciate it. It's a privilege and an honor to be able to share this. Thank you.